Well, the Olympics are over, and now I don't know what to do with my life. Except I am glad that we don't have to deal with water polo anymore, so I guess that's a win. Okay. So my last teaching video that I posted, which I honestly do not even remember what the heck it was on, towards the end of that video, I did talk about how some of you guys had commented on a video I made a couple months ago about me potentially toying around with the idea of showing you guys how to edit some photos, or at least how I edit photos. Okay, so as far as editing videos, that's a different ballgame. No, editing photos. The photos that I'm going to be going over and or showing you guys how to edit are not listing photos. Sorry to disappoint if that's what you were wanting. If that is what you're wanting, let me know down in the comments below. But more than likely, you should not be taking listing photos on your phone. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, especially because we are sort of entering in a slower period where, houses are not flying off the shelves, and it doesn't matter if you took a photo of that thing with a toy camera, it would sell. We sort of need to get back into the mindset of, people are buying with their eyes first before their wallets. So with that being said, what am I going to be teaching you how to edit today? It's more so your social vibe, your social presence for the most part. If you are aware of, anybody that takes their social media game seriously, albeit on Instagram or Facebook, and they post a lot of photos, more than likely they have a theme that you can sort of feel and or see in their images. So, just quickly scrolling through anyone's Instagram who actually cares and takes it seriously, you will probably notice that they maybe use like the same preset or a couple presets. Maybe their images are more dark, maybe their images are more light and airy, and it just sort of gives them that like niche of like, okay, this is what I do. When you see a photo on your feed without even looking at the name, you will subconsciously be like, oh, that's Christian's photo because he likes dark photos, or etc. Like that's his style. So with that being said, if you are watching this video and you're like, well, I do still want to, edit listing photos, blah, 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 you can. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that this isn't exactly what it's going to be geared towards, but I will be going over, certain things that you will probably want to adjust in your photos. Like we're going to be getting into the nitty gritty. We're not just going to be pressing, that auto button, and whatever app you're using will just automatically make it that much prettier. So the app that we are going to be using today is called VSCO, or just VSCO. And the reason that I'm going to be using that one is because that's the one that I personally use for when I edit photos on my phone, as well as the fact that it should be available for both Apple and Android. So therefore, two birds with one stone makes my life a heck of a lot easier. So as you can see on half of the screen right now, should be what I'm looking at on my phone right here. I'm just going to quickly show you guys the before and after photos of photos that I've personally taken, edited, and posted. So first up, we have this one, and you're like, Christian, what the heck even is that? That is a super dark, I think it's a house. There's a lot going on. It doesn't look that great, and you are 100% correct. Most of the time, honestly, when I take photos, like this was on a walk. All four of these photos I'm going to show you were just me on a walk with no intention of taking a photo. It just caught my eye, and so I just quickly took out my phone, which is an iPhone 10. So it's not like I'm rocking with the latest phone here. This is 3 years old, and it gets the job done. So this is what came straight out of the camera. If we scroll up a little bit, this is what I was somehow able to turn it into. Probably thinking, Christian, it's still not amazing, but it's a lot better. Well, yeah, that's kind of what I do here. Let's look at this one. This one, this one's not bad. Coming straight out of the camera roll. Now, again, I took this on a night walk. This was last year. It was probably, 8-ish o'clock at night. There's not a whole lot of light. I wouldn't recommend using this time of day to go out and get some photos, just because it's going to be a lot harder to work with. But I was able to turn it into something a little, I think it looks nice. As you see throughout my photos, I definitely do have a darker esque theme, if you will. So again, this is a dark photo, but to me, I like it. So that's really all that matters. Next up, we have one that turned out way better than I had anticipated, and it would be this one. It's it's a house. I was on a walk, caught my eye. It's a very symmetrical house. It had a very nice, what's it called? Patio? Is that what that's called? No, porch. There we go. Had a very nice porch, had some nice lights. Again, a dark photo, not great. What was I able to turn it into? This beautiful thing. I love this photo. You can't tell me otherwise. This is a great photo. I love this photo. Again, how did I do it? Well, I'm about to show you after I show you guys one more photo. Again, same thing. This was a bike ride. Just chilling. Different time of day. It's still not great right out of the camera roll. One thing that I'm not / really can't teach you is composition. How are you guys composing your photos? Meaning, where is everything in the photo, right? Are you just blindly whipping your phone out and snapping it? So I can't really teach that, especially here online. If we had like an actual class, I guess I could sort of try to teach composition. Easier said than done. So what I was able to do with this photo, turn it into this photo. So again, definitely still on the dark-esque vibes. I seemingly like to have whatever my object is lit, and then everything else is dark. So it's really easy for the eye to just look straight at what I want it to be looking at. Again, I like this photo, so that's really all that matters. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. As long as you are the ones that like the way that your photo looks, who cares if it doesn't get all the likes or if nobody else likes it? Because art is subjective. Okay, so we're not going to edit all of those. We're just going to edit maybe one or two, just so that you can see what they look like. So the app right here is VSCO. As you can see, it is in the top middle one. That is the app icon that you will be downloading in Apple and Android. You click that, and it is going to basically bring up your camera roll, which we are just going to click this, and then once you have it selected, you would click down in the bottom left, edit, and it is going to first bring up presets, which presets are basically preset looks that you can automatically add to your photo. So you can peruse. Most of these are free, if I remember correctly, and the more you look at them, the more you will able to tell, like, oh, I really like this one, I really like that one, and then you can use the same one, the same two. Honestly, the one that I love the most would be HB2. For whatever reason, I don't know if that's the same one that I used on this photo, because based on, what was it, might have been A6 is what I used on this photo, just because I can sort of tell. And then once you figure out which preset you like, you're gonna go to the second button on the bottom, and that's where all the magic is gonna happen, and that is where you're gonna have a lot more options. So again, this photo is rather dark, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and brighten it up a little bit. Not too bright, because then we sort of lose the sky. Then again, we never really had the sky to begin with. So I'm gonna pop it up to about 3. And then from there, I probably will adjust it. I like to do the 2x3, and then I'm just gonna bump it in a little bit. I don't know if that was as far as I went though. But as far as composition is concerned, one thing that you might want to remember that's important is called the rule of thirds. As you can see, this grid or this cropping tool has lines every third, and it's going horizontally as well as vertically. And so what you might want to try to do to make the image more visually appealing is to put whatever your subject, whatever the thing you want people to focus on, in the rule of thirds. So for me, I see the light in the patio. I want that to be in the bottom third of the image, and it just gives it a little bit more. I honestly have no idea what the word is, but it just looks nice. So from there, we can mess around with some contrast. And I don't really think I'm going to add any contrast. Most of this time when you're in the photo editing, aside from like the presets, everything else is literally just going to be playing around and figuring out what looks good. The preset is the thing that's going to make the images look the same. So we can sharpen it a little bit if we need to, but we don't want to go too far because then that makes it just look a little bit unnatural. So I'm going to stick around for clarity. I don't really need to worry about that. Saturation is, for those of you that don't know, how bright these colors are. So again, I know it's super easy to just bump that all the way over to 6 and just make those colors pop, but that's disgusting. So please don't do that. The most that I probably want you to do is 2. And yet here I am saying art is subjective, but if you want your photos to look good, you know, there are a little bit of rules. As far as this one is concerned, this is where you can control the highlights and shadows. So the highlights, so as you can see, the sky is a little bit blown out. That might be the case for most of your photos, just because when you focus on something, it's probably not going to be the sky, which means that the sky is going to be super overexposed. So what you can do is you can use this highlights and sort of, hopefully, if there is anything, if there's any data there left over in the photo, by bringing that all the way over to the right, it will attempt to darken it. But in this case, the sky was so blown out that it did not save any data in the photo. As well as the shadows, if you're like, yeah, I want to brighten that up a little bit, you can. I don't want to. I think it looks pretty good. White balance. Now, I believe I did mess around with the white balance a little bit. Most of the times you won't, though. But if you do want to give your photos that warm vibe that isn't in your preset, this is where you can do that. The temperature setting is where you can choose to make your image hotter or cooler. And by cooler, it's just adding blue. By hotter, you're adding red. So that is going to be subjective as well. I'm going to bring it down. Pop those greens out maybe a little bit. Give that nature, the green, a little bit of stuff to do. And the last thing that I like to do is I like to add vignettes, which for those of you that don't know, vignettes are basically just dark corners. Think of it like a dark circle. So depending on the photo, you can bring that all the way up. So now again, it sort of makes your eyes focus at the middle of, or you know, the most lit part of the photo. So we're just going to do that really quick. And if you want to figure out where you came from, like what the original photo looked like, all you have to do is simply tap and hold on the image itself, and it will be like, all right, this is where you came from, and this is where you currently are. As you can tell, it looks a lot better. There are some other things in here that I'm not really going to go over, only because they're not super important. The ones that are important for you guys to know would probably be the tone right here. So the highlights and shadows. Saturation isn't a bad one. And then the white balance is another one. So, but if you're shooting it on your phone, the white balance should more than likely be good. So again, all of this was basically just to tell you, there's options that, and you're not going to figure out the style you like until you actually get in there and figure it out and be like, oh yeah, I really like the way this looks. That's kind of the cool thing about photography and well, art is, you know, there isn't really a wrong way to do it unless you're bumping up that saturation all the way. That's wrong. I'm gonna tell you. So that's gonna be it on this video. Again, I would highly recommend going in and checking VSCO out for yourself. So you saw what I did. You saw the levels and features that I was playing around with. So just go in there, check around with the presets, check around, you know, with the exposure, the sharpening, the white balance. Again, all of this might sound super intimidating, but it's not. It's very user intuitive. If you don't like it, you just click the X on the bottom left and it'll undo whatever you did. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've talked for probably longer than I should have. but that's what you get. All right, I will see you guys next video.